My friend needed to make a call. His phone was dead. He asked to borrow mine. I handed it over without thinking. That is what you do for friends. You trust them. He walked into the other room. He was gone for 3 minutes. Maybe 4. He came back. He handed me my phone. He said thank you. That was it. I did not think about it again for the rest of the day. That night, I was scrolling through my recent calls. I do not know why. Habit. Boredom. I was sitting on my couch watching something I was not really watching. I opened my call log. I saw a number I did not recognize. Not an incoming call. A search. Someone had typed a name into my contacts. A name I had never heard before. The search was time-stamped from when my friend had my phone. I stared at the screen. I tried to think of an explanation. Maybe he was looking for a mutual friend. Maybe he typed the wrong name. Maybe it was nothing. I asked him about it the next day. I tried to sound casual. He said it was nothing. A wrong number. He laughed it off. I believed him. I wanted to believe him. But the name stayed in my head. That night, I looked it up. I typed it into a search engine. What I found made my stomach turn. That was when I understood why he borrowed my phone. It was never about a call. It was about finding something he thought I was hiding. And he did not trust me enough to ask. Danny and I met at work. We were both in sales, both in our mid-20s, both convinced we were smarter than our boss. We became friends outside the office. Dinners. Weekends. He came to my wedding. I went to his. We talked about everything. Or I thought we did. He told me about his father leaving when he was 12. I told him about my brother, who could not stay clean. We trusted each other with the heavy stuff. That is what made us close. Or so I believed. He was the kind of friend who showed up when you needed him. When my car broke down on the highway, Danny drove an hour to pick me up. When his dog died, I sat on his couch and watched terrible movies with him until 2 in the morning. We were present for each other. But he was also the kind of friend who kept parts of himself behind a door he never opened. He would go quiet sometimes, stare at his drink. I would ask what was wrong. He would say nothing. I did not push. I thought everyone deserved privacy. I thought trust meant letting someone keep their secrets. The night he borrowed my phone, we were at a bar near my apartment. It was a Tuesday. Neither of us had anything to do the next day. His phone died while he was showing me a video. He asked to use mine. I handed it over without thinking. That is what you do. You trust your friends. He walked toward the back of the bar where it was quieter. He said he needed to hear. 3 minutes later, he came back. He handed me my phone. He said, "Thanks, man." I did not think about it again until I was lying in bed later that night. I was deleting old call logs, just clearing out the clutter. I saw something that did not belong. Not a call, a search. Someone had typed a name into my contacts. The name was Elena Reyes. I did not know anyone named Elena Reyes. I had never searched for that name. I had never heard it before. The search was time-stamped from when Danny had my phone. I stared at the screen for a long time. I tried to make sense of it. Maybe he was looking for a client. Maybe he typed the wrong name. Maybe it was nothing. But something in my chest told me it was not nothing. I did not know who Elena Reyes was. But Danny did. And he had used my phone to look for her. The question was why. I asked Danny about the search the next time I saw him. I tried to keep my voice light. Casual. I said, "Hey, I saw you search for someone named Elena Reyes on my phone. Who is that?" He laughed. He said it was nothing. He was looking for a client. Wrong name. Wrong number. No big deal. I asked why he did not just ask me if I knew her. He said he did not want to bother me. That did not make sense. Asking to borrow my phone was not a bother. Asking me if I knew someone was even less of a bother. He could have just said, "Hey, do you know an Elena Reyes?" I would have said no. That would have been the end of it. But he did not ask. He searched, and then he lied about it. Or at least I thought he was lying. I wanted to believe him, but the explanation did not fit. I could not stop thinking about the name. Elena Reyes. It sat in my head like a song I could not forget. I looked her up. Social media. Public records. She lived in the same city as us. She worked at a hospital. A nurse, maybe. She was married. She had 2 kids. She had no connection to me. No connection to Danny that I could see. No mutual friends. No shared jobs. No comments on each other's photos. Nothing. She was a stranger to me. And as far as I could tell, she was a stranger to Danny too. I asked my wife if she knew an Elena Reyes. She was sitting on the couch reading a book. She looked up and said no. She asked why. I told her about the search. She said that is weird, but she said like it was a small weird, a minor mystery, not something to lose sleep over. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to let it go, but I could not. Something felt wrong. Danny had used my phone to look for a woman I had never heard of, a woman he had no visible connection to, a woman he then lied about. That was not nothing. That was a thread, and I was going to pull on it until I understood where it led, even if I did not like where it went. I asked Danny again a week later. I had been turning it over in my head every night, trying to find an explanation that made sense. None of them did, so I asked him more directly. I said I looked up Elena Reyes. I do not know her. You do not know her. So why did you search her name on my phone? Danny did not laugh this time. He did not make a joke. He looked at his hands. He said he was curious about something. It was stupid. He should have just asked me. I asked what he was curious about. He said he heard a rumor. He wanted to see if it was true. I asked what rumor. He said it did not matter. It was not true. I asked why he used my phone instead of his own. He was quiet for a second. Then he said because if he used his phone, she would see the search. She would know he was looking. I asked who she was. He said no one. Forget it. He stood up from the table. He said he had to go. He left. I did not forget it. But I stopped asking. Danny was my friend. We had known each other for 10 years. He had shown up for me when I needed him. I did not want to be the person who interrogated his friends over a stupid search that probably meant nothing. My wife said I was overthinking. She said people do weird things when they're curious. It does not always mean something dark. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to let it go. But I started watching Danny differently. The way he looked at my phone when I left it on the table. The way he asked questions about my contacts, who I had been talking to, who I had seen recently. The way he said just curious too often. It was not one thing. It was a pattern. Small moments that added up to something I could not name. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself Danny was my friend and friends trusted each other. But trust was exactly what he had used to search for Elena Reyes on my phone. He had counted on me not checking my call log. He had counted on me handing him my phone without thinking. He had counted on my trust, and I had given it to him. I just did not know what he had done with it. I hired someone, not a detective, just a friend who was good at finding things. She worked in human resources. She knew how to pull public records and connect dots that most people did not even see. I asked her to look into Elena Reyes, not because I was obsessed, because I needed to know why Danny had lied. A 10-year friendship deserved an answer, even if the answer was ugly. My friend came back with information 3 days later. She sent me a long email. I read it twice. Elena Reyes had been married twice. Her first husband died. A car accident. 5 years ago. His name was David Reyes. David Reyes had a brother. That brother was Danny. Danny was Elena's brother-in-law. Her dead husband's brother. He had never mentioned her. Never mentioned a brother who died. Never mentioned any of it. I sat with that information for an entire day. I did not go to work. I just sat on my couch and stared at the wall and tried to understand. Danny had a brother. That brother died. Danny had never told me. He had let me believe he was an only child. He had let me talk about my own brother's struggles without ever saying me too. He had built a wall around that part of his life, and then he had used my phone to look at the person on the other side. I called Danny that night. I did not text. I called. He answered on the third ring. I said, I know who Elena is. I know about your brother. There was a long silence. I could hear him breathing. Then he said he was going to tell me. I asked when. He said never. He said he was never going to tell me. That was the truth. The first real truth he had told me in weeks. He was never going to tell me about his brother. About the car accident. About Elena. He was going to keep that wall up forever. But he got curious. He got weak. He borrowed my phone to look at her social media because he did not want her to know he was still watching. And I caught him. That was the only reason I knew anything at all. Not because he trusted me. Because he slipped. I sat on my couch with the phone against my ear, and I realized I did not know my friend at all. I knew the version he wanted me to see. The easy laugh. The helpful guy. The one who showed up. But underneath, there was a man drowning in grief he refused to name. and he had been drowning alone for 5 years because he would not let anyone close enough to throw a rope. Danny came to my house that night. I did not invite him. He just showed up. He was crying. I had never seen him cry. Not at his wedding. Not when his dog died. Not in 10 years of friendship. He stood in my doorway with tears on his face, and he looked smaller than I had ever seen him. He said his brother died 5 years ago. A car accident. Elena was his wife. She stopped speaking to Danny after the funeral. He did not know why. He just knew she took the kids and cut off their whole family. He had not seen his nephews in 4 years. I asked what that had to do with my phone. He wiped his face with his sleeve. He said Elena changed her number. She blocked him. She blocked his parents. She disappeared. He heard she moved to this city. He heard she remarried. He wanted to see if she was here. He wanted to see if her name was in anyone's phone, anyone who might know where she was. He borrowed my phone because he thought maybe I knew someone who knew her. He did not want me to think he was crazy. He did not want to know how far he had fallen. I asked why he did not just tell me. He said because he was ashamed. His brother died. His brother's wife erased him. He had been trying to find her for 4 years. Not to hurt her, just to see his nephews, just to know they were okay. He said that was pathetic. I looked at my friend who had been carrying this alone for 5 years, who had been showing up to dinners and weekends and weddings with a smile on his face, while inside he was searching for children he was not allowed to love. I said that is not pathetic. That is grief. That is what grief looks like when it has nowhere to go. He was not crazy. He was not pathetic. He was just a man who lost his brother and then lost the only pieces of his brother that were still alive. And he did not know how to let them go. So he held on the only way he could, by typing a name into a borrowed phone, hoping for a sign, hoping for anything. I asked Danny if he wanted me to help him find Elena. He was sitting on my couch with his hands between his knees. He said he did not know. I asked if he wanted to keep searching on other people's phones in secret. He said no. I asked if he wanted to keep lying to his friends. He said no. I said then let me help. Not with the searching, with the telling. Tell me everything. Stop hiding. He told me about his brother, David, 2 years older, the one who taught him to ride a bike, the one who let him tag along with his friends even when it was embarrassing, the one who married Elena and had kids and bought a house in the suburbs and lived the life Danny thought he wanted for himself. Then the accident. A drunk driver. 3 in the afternoon. David was on his way to pick up his son from school. He never made it. Danny got the call at work. He said he remembered dropping his phone. He remembered picking it up. He did not remember anything else. He told me about the funeral. Elena would not look at him. She stood with her side of the family and did not speak to any of the Reyes. Danny did not understand why. He still did not understand. He guessed she blamed them. Blamed someone. Needed a target for her grief. He was the closest one. So she cut him off. She cut off his parents. She took the kids and moved. Changed her number. Disappeared. That was 4 years ago. He told me about the years of silence. His mother crying every time she saw a child who looked like her grandson. His father drinking more. Danny pretending everything was fine while secretly searching for Elena online, watching from fake accounts, hoping for a glimpse of his nephews. He said he was ashamed of still caring when everyone else had moved on. I said he should not be ashamed. He was a man who loved his brother and loved his nephews and did not know how to stop. That was not a weakness. That was the only part of this that made sense. I listened to all of it. I did not judge. I could not. I had never lost a brother. I had never been cut off from children I loved. I just sat there on a couch next to my friend and let him talk until he had no words left. At the end, Danny said, "Thank you for not running." I said, "You're my friend. I do not run from my friends. But you have to stop lying. To me. To everyone. The lies are worse than the truth." He nodded. He did not promise anything. But he heard me. That was a start. That was the only start we had. I'm over it where silence ends. Have you ever discovered that a friend's lie was not about betrayal, but about grief they did not know how to name? I found Elena. Not through Danny. Through my own research. It was not hard. She was not hiding from me. She was just living her life. New house. New last name. New husband. New photos of her kids smiling in front of a Christmas tree. I reached out through social media. I explained who I was. Danny's friend, not family. Just someone who had been sitting next to a man who had been drowning for 5 years. I asked if she would talk to Danny. She said no. I asked why. She said because every time she saw him, she saw David. She could not raise her children in that shadow. She needed to move forward. She needed them to move forward. Danny was the past. David was the past. She had buried them both. I asked if she understood what the silence had done to Danny. She paused. Then she said she was sure it had been hard for him, but it had been harder for her. She lost her husband. She was raising 2 children alone. She did not have the energy to manage his grief too. I said he just wants to see his nephews. She said she knew, but she was not ready. Maybe someday. Not now. She thanked me for reaching out. She said she hoped I understood. Then she stopped responding. I told Danny what she said. I drove to his apartment. I sat on his couch. I gave him the news in the gentlest way I could. She is okay. The kids are okay. But she is not ready. He did not cry this time. He just nodded. He said at least he knew she was okay. At least he knew the kids were okay. I asked if that was enough. He looked at me for a long time. Then he said it had to be. There was no other option. He could not force her. He could not make her ready. He could only wait and hope and try to live his life in the meantime. I asked if he was angry at me for reaching out. He said no. He said I did what he should have done years ago. I asked directly. I did not hide. I did not borrow someone else's phone. I just asked. I got an answer. Not the answer he wanted, but an answer. That was more than he had in 5 years. He said thank you. I said do not thank me. Just promise me something. Promise me you will stop looking at her through other people's phones. He promised. I believed him. That was what friends did. They believed each other, even after everything, especially after everything. Danny did not search any more phones after that. He stopped asking me about my contacts. He stopped looking over my shoulder. He stopped saying just curious all the time. He started therapy instead. He told me at a diner. Same place we used to go after work. He said his wife suggested it. She had known something was wrong for years. She did not know what. I said it was a good idea. He said he should have done it years ago. I said he was doing it now. That was what mattered. He told me about his first session, how he sat in a chair across from a woman he did not know and told her about his brother for the first time, how he cried, how she did not flinch, how she just handed him a tissue and said, keep going. He said it felt like taking off a coat he had been wearing for 5 years. Heavy, wet, too small, but he had been afraid to take it off because he did not know who he was underneath. Now he was finding out. Elena texted me once, a few weeks after I reached out. She said thank you for being honest with me. She said she was sorry she could not give Danny what he wanted. I said I understood. I did not tell Danny, she texted. Some things are better left unsaid. He was trying to move forward. Reading her words would have pulled him back. I protected him from that. It was the least I could do. Danny and I are still friends. Different friends. The kind who do not lie about the big things. He told me about his brother's birthday last month. He said he went to the cemetery. He said he cried. He said he wished Elena had been there with the kids. He wished he could have shown them where their father was buried. I did not say anything. I just listened. That was what he needed. Not advice. Not solutions. Just someone to sit with him while he grieved. My wife asked if I regretted getting involved. I thought about it for a minute. I said I regretted that Danny did not trust me enough to tell me the truth. I regretted that he had been carrying this alone for 5 years when he did not have to. But I did not regret knowing. Now I understood him. The distance, the secrets, the way he kept parts of himself behind a door he never opened. It was not about me. It was about a brother he lost and a sister-in-law who could not look at him without seeing a ghost. I understood that now. And understanding was better than wondering, even if it hurt, especially because it hurt. I still have the search of my recent calls. Elena Reyes. I have not deleted it. It has been months. I keep it as a reminder. Not Danny's lie, of my own blindness. I had known him for 10 years. 10 years of dinners and weekends and late-night conversations. I had no idea he was carrying a dead brother and 2 nephews he could not see. That is not his fault entirely. I did not ask the right questions. I assumed he was fine because he said he was fine. I took his smile at face value. I never looked underneath. I will not make that mistake again. Danny shows up now, not just to dinner, to the hard conversations. He told his parents about the therapy. He drove to their house on a Sunday. He sat them down. He told them everything. The searching, the lying, the borrowed phone, the friend who caught him. They cried. His mother said she had been waiting for him to break. He said he was not broken. He was just tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of hiding. Tired of carrying it alone. That was the most honest thing he had ever said. His father did not say anything. He just put his hand on Danny's shoulder and left it there. Elena sent me a photograph once. A text message. No words. Just a photo. Her sons. Danny's nephews. They were standing in front of a school bus. Backpacks. Big smiles. They looked like their father. The same eyes. The same way of standing with their weight on one foot. I did not show Danny. He would not have been able to unsee it. It would have opened a wound that was finally starting to close. But I looked at it for a long time. I thought about grief, about how it makes us lie, about how it makes us borrow phones and search for names and pretend we are fine when we are drowning, about how it makes us push away the people who could actually help. I saved the photo. I did not know why. Maybe because I wanted to remember. Maybe because I wanted to understand. Maybe because Danny's nephews were out there in the world, growing up without their father, and someone should bear witness to that. Danny is not drowning anymore. He is learning to swim. Some days are better than others. He still goes to the cemetery on his brother's birthday. He still cries. He still wishes Elena would call. But he does not search for her anymore. He does not watch from fake accounts. He is learning to live with the not knowing. I am in the water with him. That is what friends are for. Not to save each other. No one can save anyone else. Just to stay close enough that no one drowns alone. He borrowed my phone to find a ghost. He ended up finding a friend who would not run. That is not a bad trade. That is the best kind of friendship. The kind that survive a lie. The kind that gets stronger in the breaking. The kind that shows up. I'm over at where silence ends. Have you ever discovered that the person you thought was lying to you was actually just too ashamed to let you see how much they were hurting?